Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Hey, this is fun. Essentials of Strategic Management. Let's keep driving this together. All right. So, Chapter 5 is about describing these basic competitive strategies. What are the options that you have? Which of the 5 are you going to employ? What would be the company's first and foremost choice in creating that overall strategy and beginning its quest for that competitive advantage, which is going to make the big difference? These are your learning objectives for today's conversation, right? And we'll focus on that generic competitive strategy options, okay? So, the strategy and the value proposition is this: competing to successfully gain this competitive advantage that we've been talking about for weeks now. It involves giving buyers what they perceive as superior value. Notice I didn't say cost or quality or so, but what is that value proposition? Sometimes that's a good product at a lower price. Maybe it's a superior product, but you'll pay more. It's worth it. We all do that, okay, etc. So the best value product represents an attractive combination of features, price, etc. Okay, so the competitive strategy and marketing position have to be considered. A company's competitive strategy deals exclusively with the specifics of management's game plan for competing successfully, and its specific efforts are focused on pleasing the customer, strengthening your market share, and you want to counter moves of the rivals to come at you and get your market share, and you also want to respond to shifting market conditions along the way, right? So the biggest and the most important differences among competitive strategies boil down to just two things: whether a company's market target is broad or narrow, and whether the company is pursuing a competitive advantage linked to low costs or product differentiation. Strategy really comes down to those two things. So the core concept then is the competitive strategy concerns the specifics of management's game plan for how are you going to compete successfully and secure this competitive advantage over other rivals in the marketplace. This figure from the book, right, shows the 5 generic competitive strategies. And these are ways to examine how each of the 5 strategies stake out a different market position, right? And you're looking for that in the center, that best cost provider strategy. What are your market coverage and what is your competitive advantage on the XY axis? So the 5 generic competitive strategies are these. You can be a low-cost provider strategy. You can be a broad differentiation strategy where you seek to differentiate yourself from your rivals. You can be a focused low-cost strategy, which concentrates on a narrow segment of the population, a narrow portion, right? And you're out competing your rivals by having a lower cost than the rivals in this niche, in this narrow focus. Then there's the focused differentiation strategy, which concerns on this narrow buyer segment and out competing the rivals by offering niche members some customized attributes. Sometimes it's your customization that makes the difference. And then finally, there's the best cost provider strategy, where you give customers, frankly, more value for the money by satisfying their expectations on things like quality, features, performance, etc. It's why some of us are willing to pay more for a Mac computer than for a generic computer. So one of them I mentioned was that low-cost provider strategy. So which was the first one mentioned above in the last slide. The low-cost producer's basis for the competitive advantage is just that. It's that low cost. When I go to Walmart, sometimes I'm looking for the lowest cost computer because frankly they're all pretty good and I'm not doing graphic design, right? So I don't need a high-end powered one. I just do Word, Excel, and email. right? And PowerPoint. So successful low-cost leaders who have the lowest industry costs are exceptionally good at finding ways to drive out of their business, drive costs out of their business so they're efficient and still provide a product or service that the buyers are willing to accept. Acer Computer, in my mind, comes to mind, in my view. Now, so the key concept is that low-cost leader definition that we have we've been talking about, and of course you can find more of that in the book. Okay, so then we want to translate a low-cost strategy into attractive profit performance. You can do one of two things, right? You have two options for translating this over your rivals. Right? One is you can use a low-cost edge to underprice competitors, right? Because some people out there are shoppers like myself are price sensitive at times, right? And then the other option is to maintain a presence. Be content with present market share and use this low-cost edge to earn higher profit margins on each unit sold. So a couple of options there. Now, a company has two options for translating this low-cost advantage over rivals into that attractive performance that we've been talking about. So you can either perform essential value chain activities, and so over more and become more cost effective than your rivals. Walmart did this over Kmart. In their value chain, right? And you can do some research online. There's plenty of compare and contrast over them and their value chain. And then you can revamp the firm's overall value chain to eliminate or bypass some cost-producing activities altogether. So the key concept is this of a cost driver, right? The cost driver is a factor having a strong effect on the cost of the company's value chain and the overall cost structure. So a cost-efficient management is going to have some of these attributes. You're going to strive to capture available economies of scale, right? Shoving more stuff into a pipe, and don't overbuild your facilities along the way, right? You want to substituting lower cost inputs where there's little or no sacrifice on quality, right? So maybe a bolt is a bolt is a bolt. Get a low cost bolt, right? You don't have to pay high end as you're building your machine, that sort of thing, right? Being alert to cost advantages of outsourcing or vertical integration, etc. Just so many options here. You want to pause and review this slide for those. So the important cost drivers in a company's value chain are summarized here. And this figure shows the most important of the cost drivers. Bargaining power. Walmart has that. When people come to sell at Walmart, Walmart does their own research and they will tell you how much you will sell it for in their store so that they not only that they can maintain their competitive advantage, and at the same time, what does it give you as the vendor? Yeah, you may be selling it for a little less you wanted, but now you are global in all the Walmart stores, which is going to help you achieve market share, for example. And so revamping the value chain or re-engineering becomes an option. So dramatic cost changes can often emerge from redesigning your value chain in ways to eliminate costs. Again, I mentioned Walmart and Kmart. Kmart invested in electronic value chain early on and as part of the supply chain. When you checked out at Walmart 20 years ago, it was already reordering products, right? Where Kmart wasn't doing that. It was still manually done, right? They were falling behind. They weren't cutting their costs and streamlining to keep the right products on the shelf along the way. So this is from the book Concepts and Connections. It shows how Vanguard, as a company, managed its value chain to achieve a huge cost advantage over the rival supermarket chain. So you want to pause this, read the questions, and consider this for yourself. There's some good comments in the book in this regard. So when a low-cost strategy works best, right, it becomes increasingly appealing, of course, and it gives you a competitively powerful position, right? When the forces of competition are favorable to a particular competitor's market position. So what you want to do is use a low-cost strategy in sort of these conditions, right? Like the price competition among rivals is especially vigorous, right? Airlines will do this when one cuts rates and the others are having to catch up or offer other benefits. Maybe the products of a rival sellers are essentially identical and are readily available from several sellers. A low-cost strategy can work well there. Ask Spirit Airlines, right, would be a good example of that. There are a few ways to achieve product differentiate. There are a few ways to achieve product differentiation that have value. So if you're all pretty much the same, again, a low-cost option, but you have to be efficient and maintain your profit margin. Okay, good slide to pause and review again. There's some good stuff there. Okay, so the keys to a successful low-cost strategy are listed here. Success in this environment comes from out-managing rivals in this low-cost environment and finding ways to perform value chain activities faster, more accurately, more efficiently, especially in terms of cost. The low-cost producer is in the best position to win the business of price-sensitive buyers. Note that. But we're not all price-sensitive buyers, so you want to understand your market. Right? Because you set the floor on the market price and you're still able to earn a profit, right? At the same time, there are pros and cons to everything. There are pitfalls to avoid if you choose to pursue this low-cost strategy, right? So the reducing the price does not lead to higher total profits. And unless there are added gains in sales, sales matter. There's a concept called the Rule of 78. You'd want to look that up, right? But it's about increasing sales. Very interesting. You could Google it. Rule of 78. That's one way to reduce price and increase higher profits is the Rule of 78. I'll leave that up to you. Just a great concept, okay? And then, of course, we have broad differentiation strategies, right? Differentiation enhances profitability as a second approach as opposed to low cost. So this is item 2. Whenever a company's product can command a sufficiently higher price, right? So the essence here is to offer a unique product. And maybe it's in, even the product might be common, but it's in the attributes that a wide range of buyers are going to like along the way. So the core concept is about offering a unique product or at least attributes along the way. And there are various approaches to differentiation that you'd want to be aware of. You can pause the slide and read them here. These are excellent examples and things that you might consider writing about. So the core concept is this. A uniqueness driver is a value chain activity, right? It's going to be that thing that has a strong effect on customer value and creates this differentiation. And notice that it can be tangible or intangible features along the way. So a value driver is a factor that can have a strong differentiating effect, and it doesn't have to always be tangible. This is a chart from the book about the value drivers and some of the important value drivers here along the way. So differentiation is not something hatched in marketing and advertising departments, right? Nor is it limited to quality or service, right? Differentiation can exist in the activities along the entire value chain. And the most systematic approach that managers can take, however, involves focusing on the value drivers and setting the factors that are analogous to cost drivers, okay? So I'm going to pause there. Well, this is and come back here in the next part 2.